What you guys, got another video here for you. This is another troubleshooting and fix it video. This one is a brand new PC which I built. I've been using it, and basically I turned it on one morning and I see it give me a blue screen of death. But then I rebooted the system and I got to the desktop. Then basically I turned it on the next day and it was going straight to the BIOS. So this is to fix a PC that is booting straight to the BIOS. Now this is a brand new computer. Every component in here is brand new. And I want to take you along for the ride to show you how to troubleshoot and fix issues just like these ones. So I'm going to power the PC on, and it looks like the monitor is turned off. So let's go ahead and turn the monitor on so we can see what is actually happening. What happens is when I boot up, it just goes straight into the BIOS. Now this could be a number of different things, but sometimes this points towards a hard drive issue or NVMe drive or SSD issue. So let's put the monitor on here and take a look. So I'll just lift it up here so you can see what actually happens with the computer. So you'll get the logo screen for the motherboard here. In this case it's ASRock, and then we will get to the BIOS. That's exactly what's happening. Now this has an NVMe Gen 4 drive in it, which is from ADATA. And it was pretty expensive when I purchased it, about £180, but I think it's come down in price now. But as you can see here, I'll start this up and you'll see the PC seems to be functioning okay, but it just goes straight into the BIOS. So let's take a look here inside the BIOS. Now, I did notice that the drive wasn't being recognized in the BIOS as a proper drive here. So this is an issue that we need to address. So maybe it's something wrong with the drive, or maybe it's a BIOS issue. So yeah, what I'm going to do here is try to resolve this problem. Let's go to the boot tab here, and you can see it says disabled here. Even when I enable this, this is the hard drive that is actually in the computer as well as the 6 terabyte drive in here. It's recognizing this, but it doesn't recognize the NVMe drive. So what I'm going to do is take the drive out, and then we'll troubleshoot that drive to see whether the drive is failed or whether it's functional. But before I do that, I'm going to buy a key from CD Key Sales, which is today's sponsor for today's video. Now, I purchase all my keys from this site myself, and when I'm building new PCs, I will use these keys. You can buy Windows 10 Pro OEM keys, and you can also buy Windows 11 Pro OEM keys as well. You can also get Office on here, which is very useful for people that use Office or Outlook. Now, remember, these are OEM keys, which means if you replace your motherboard, you will need to buy a new key. These are not retail keys, they're OEM keys. And MS Office 2019 Professional Plus CD Key Global, just make sure it is in your area before you purchase any of these keys, because if it isn't, it may not work. But the flags are on there to tell you exactly where you can activate this key. So I'm going to put this in the British language and click on the Buy Now button. And once I do this, you're going to use my promo code, which is capital B, capital R 09. And you will then apply this to your order, and you will get 30% off of your purchase price no matter what you buy on that site, which is a very useful thing to know. So I'll leave all the links in video description for you. So let's move on to what I'm going to do here first. Is I'm going to flash the BIOS first, because just in case this is an issue with the BIOS. I did receive this motherboard and CPU from China, so I want to make sure that there's no issues here. So let's go ahead and get the BIOS by clicking on the support page and going to the BIOS and getting the latest BIOS, which is this one here, 2.20, and you can see the date is all listed there. So what I'm going to do is use the instant flash. Going to go ahead and download this, and we can then put this onto a flash drive. So I'm going to go ahead and download using the global link here. So click on this one here, click OK, and this will download the BIOS image that we're going to need to flash the motherboard. Now, I'm not holding much hope for this to work, but I just want to do it just to make sure, because when I RMA this drive, if it's failed, I want to make sure I've tried everything, because they're going to ask me, did I try this and did I try that? And I'm going to be able to show them this video and say, yep, I've tried all that stuff. So I'm hoping that the drive is okay and it's some sort of issue with the BIOS, but we'll give it a go. So I'm going to open up the USB flash drive, and this needs to be formatted as FAT32. So I'm going to go ahead and do this and then click start for a quick format at FAT32. Once I've done this, I can go back to the BIOS file that I've downloaded and copy this file over to my flash drive. It's that simple. So just copy this, and we're going to copy this over to our flash drive. And that is now ready. So what I need to do now is I'm going to go back over to the PC, and we're going to plug this flash drive into the computer and flash the BIOS. Hopefully this will work out. So let's go back to the computer. I've got my USB flash drive right here, and I'm going to plug it into the computer, and we're going to go ahead and flash the BIOS, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this does work, although I'm not holding my breath. So let's go ahead and go for it. So let's go to Tools, and what we want to do here is we're going to go to Instant Flash here and use the Instant Flash method. So go to Instant Flash, click Update, and let's zoom in and take a closer look. So when I click on Update here, it is going to flash the actual BIOS here. So you don't want to be turning off the computer at this stage. You can see it's recognized the BIOS file on my USB flash drive, and then I'm going to let this go ahead and flash it. So there you go. It's starting to go, and I'll take you a closer look so you can see it here. So let's take a look at the screen. There we go. Do not power off during UEFI update. Now this does take a bit of time to do, so be patient. And again, I only flash the BIOS when I'm having issues. I don't always keep flashing the BIOS. I tend to only flash the BIOS when I've either got a new motherboard or when there's some sort of issue here. And we have an issue, so I'm going to flash the BIOS to see whether there is some sort of problem here. So the BIOS is now flashed, and what I need to do is go back into the BIOS to see whether it's recognizing this drive. I hope so, because if it does, it's going to save me a bit of work. So let's go ahead and tap on the delete key here to enter the BIOS. You may get a couple of restarts, so just keep tapping the delete key. This is a common key to get into the BIOS, so we should be able to get in there by just tapping this delete key here. So you can see it's shutting down and turning back on. That's pretty normal after you flash the BIOS, but once you've done this, you should be back into the BIOS. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the time here. I can see the time has changed. Now I also did change the CMOS battery in this and put a brand new one in, because these get delivered from China without a CMOS battery. I did make a video on that, and you can see that. So I did change and put a brand new CMOS battery in, just in case there's some sort of issue here. So I've changed this, and I will need to change that time. So let me go ahead and take a look here. So you can see the drive is still not being detected, and that is not a good sign. So let me quickly change the date and time here to put the date and time to a proper time here, which is the 2022. So let's go ahead and sort this out. It's pretty straightforward stuff. Now, if you don't have the correct BIOS time, this can cause issues. So make sure the BIOS time is correct if you're having some sort of issue. It's always important to make sure that is kept up to date. And also, just a quick tip here, if your information is not being stored when you change it in the BIOS, then maybe your CMOS battery is starting to die. So you may need to update and replace that battery. So let's go ahead and put the date in for today and apply this, and I'll quickly restart and we'll see whether it detects it. I'm not holding my breath here, but we'll give it a go. Now, I've had quite a few ADATA NVMe drives, and to be honest, I've had about 3 or 4 of them fail on me over the years, and that's not a good track record for reliability for ADATA drives. So I won't be buying any of those in the foreseeable future, but sometimes they're quite affordable and they do offer some good deals on them, and they're quite tempting to buy. But in my case, I haven't had much luck with some of the super fast ones. They tend to fail quite a bit. And I'm thinking that this one is probably some sort of controller issue. And you can see it's not even detecting the actual drive here itself. So not very good. I can see here the actual controller and drive information here, and it's only saying 2.1 gigabyte in size for the NVMe drive. And this is a 1 terabyte NVMe drive, so it's not detecting it correctly here. So that is not good. So let's remove this out of the machine and give it a test. And I've got some sort of enclosure here which I can actually use to test to see whether the drive is functional. So something has got pretty toasty on that drive and probably failed. I'm not sure why, but these drives are now super fast and they're pushing the capacity of these drives, and it's not very good when they let go like this, especially on a brand new drive that costs this much money. So I'm pretty disappointed with ADATA. Okay, so let's go into the case here and remove the drive for testing. Now I do have a Gen 4 enclosure which I can put this into and test the smart readings to make sure everything is functioning properly. If not, then we can do some other tests. Now obviously I'm hoping that the drive is okay and something's happened. It could be the slot on the board, it could be anything. So I need to test the drive to make sure before I RMA it if there's something wrong here. And this graphics card is pretty toasty. It's only been sitting there idle, so hopefully that's a good thing and it's okay. But it took me 2 years to find a graphics card of this caliber because of the shortage, and that is an RTX 3070 short format, which is good for this. So I need to undo these 2 screws here, and I don't know what ASRock were thinking when they designed this board, but these 2 screws here you would think will give you access to the drive. But oh no, I have to literally undo all of the cables on the motherboard, and I have to remove the motherboard because there's 2 screws on the back of the motherboard. So all that hard cable management is going to have to be undone, and I'm going to have to unplug all of the cables to get access to the actual NVMe heatsink, because the 2 screws on the front will not release the heatsink. There is 2 screws holding it on the back. So it's not a really good design. It's a bit of a flaw if you ask me, because who's going to want to keep removing the motherboard just to remove an NVMe drive, which is not good. So let me go ahead and remove all of these cables here. Now I do actually like the look and design of this board. I think it's a really nice board, but it's only until you have issues that you actually see where problems can arise. And again, I never foresee this happening, so I never thought this would be an issue. But of course it just means that you're going to have to undo all of the screws and remove the board itself. So not good if this was, say for instance, hardline water cooled or something along those lines. You would have to really dismantle the whole thing just to get the drive out, which isn't a good thing. So I've had to undo all these cables, cut all the cable ties, and get access to this. So not a very good design from ASRock, and a bit disappointed. But now I should be able to get access to the board here and lift this up. And again, we have that closed loop water cooled system, which is causing a bit of an issue, but I don't want to take everything apart because it's going to be a bit of a nightmare as it is. So let me go ahead and try to flip this over so I can get access to these screws on the back here. Just need to pull these cables through here. Probably shouldn't tug it like that, but I'm getting pretty frustrated now because I've got to remove all this stuff. So let's go ahead and remove the 2 screws here. You'll probably see these 2 screws here. These are the culprits here. And again, there is no access panel at the back to access the 2 screws for this heatsink. So let me quickly show you here. They're up the top here. And I've pulled the camera down too far. There we go. That's them right here. So these 2 screws need to be undone so I can get this off. So let's undo these 2. So let's get these 2 screws off here, and we should be able to pull this aluminium heatsink off. And yes, it is aluminium. It's not aluminum. It's aluminium. And we're going to pull this off. And you can see how big and chunky that is. And they've put extra screws on here to hold it on the board. So yeah, a great heatsink, but is it necessary for that thick heatsink there for all the hassle that's caused? I'm not too sure. Someone needs to redesign that, I think, on the next release, because that is just a nightmare. So this is the actual ADATA drive that we need to test. So this is the ADATA Gamix blade. This is the S70 version. So it's the XPG Gamix S70 blade. So we're going to be using this USB 4.0 NVMe SSD enclosure. You see me do a video on this before. I'll just plug it in here and get it onto the PC so I can do some testing. So I've now got this plugged in, and what I'm going to do here is we'll give it a test to see whether we can get access. So you can see already it's saying initialize disk, and it's not initializing. So that is not a good sign. And you can see it does say there on the actual disk there's a little red marker there that says initialize disk, and it's only seeing 2 gigabytes unallocated here. And if you try to initialize it, it doesn't do anything. You can click on here and it's saying MN5235 SCSI drive. So it's saying a SCSI disk. That's what it says there. And that's what it was saying in the BIOS as well, that MN5236. It was saying that on there. So if something has happened to the actual drive, I'll try and recover the partitions to see whether we can get this drive to come back to life. I'm not holding my breath here. I think this is definitely had it. But what I'm going to do is use Crystal Disk Info here to see whether it recognizes the disk or anything like that. I don't think it will, but we'll give it a go and test. Because if the drive is not visible, i.e. it's damaged, it's not going to be known. And you can see it says unknown here, MN5236 2.1 gigabytes. So it is not functioning the way it should be, and it's completely had it. So let's go ahead and try to see whether we can recover the partitions on here and get it functional again. I'm not holding my breath here because at this stage I do think the drive has failed. Something on the drive has failed. So you can see on the actual drive here, we do have some options available, like undelete partitions. So let's try and get the partitions recovered. So let's go ahead and use the Paragon tool to undelete partitions. So I'll go next, put the tick inside this little box here. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and try a scan on this. So you can see conventional search. I did a thorough one as well on here. It's not functioning. So let me do this one here, and I'll also do a thorough one. So let's go back and do a thorough one, and we'll do this scan. It does take a long time because it's going to go sector by sector, and I'll speed this process up because it does take a fair bit of time to try to find partitions on that drive. And again, it didn't find anything. It was completely lost. Everything's gone. So all my data's gone, everything. And this is the problem with these types of drives. When they let go, they will fail. And when they fail, it's pretty much like this. You can't get access to it. It's completely dead. So all of my data is now gone. And again, there is tons of data on here, which is literally just gone. So all of my previous work, the emails I was working on with clients and things like that is all gone. Now, I do have backups of stuff. I do keep backups, but it just goes to show you how volatile these drives are once they let go. And I've had about 3 or 4 ADATA drives fail on me, and it's not good. So again, we've done a sector by sector scan here, a thorough scan, and it's not finding anything on the drive. So I'm pretty much at this stage really disheartened and really disappointed with ADATA. And I've tried to, create a new partition here. I tried to delete and format and create ones, and it just won't let me do it because the drive is not functioning correctly. You'll see here in a second when I try to do this, even just creating a little partition on this 1.9 gigabyte that is showing, it can't do it. So I can safely say the drive has failed. So I'm just going to do one more thing here just to have something to show ADATA when I RMA this drive. So I'm going to download their toolbox here to see whether this actually recognizes the drive at all and whether I can actually do anything from here, like erase it or whatever. So we'll just give this a go. I don't think it's going to be able to do anything, but it is their own software, and we'll give it a go because we've got nothing else to lose. So I'm just going to quickly extract this and get this installed on the system, and then hopefully it will detect the drive and do something here for us. So let's go ahead and click next here, accept their terms and conditions, and install this on the system, and click next, and there we go. So once this is done, this should open up and it should detect the drive. And what's it doing? No, it doesn't. It shut down. So let me just quickly show you a screenshot that I took here. No available SATA disk. Try using Windows 8. So I've tried all this and it doesn't work. So the drive is literally not even being recognized by its own software, which is never a good thing. So anyway, time to put another drive into the system and get Windows installed and activate Windows, because this PC was never activated. So I'm going to go ahead and get Windows installed here. So I've got Windows installed, and what I'm going to do using the key that I just purchased earlier on in the video from CD Key Sales. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this key over, click on the activation area here and click on activation and change product key and put in the product key that I just purchased. I'm going to paste this in here and I'm going to quickly click on next here so we can activate this version of Windows. So let's go ahead and click on activate, and this should activate Windows 11 Pro. And there you go. That has now been activated with a digital license. These are OEM licenses, so if the motherboard is changed or anything like that, you will need to purchase a new key. I'll leave all the links and information in the video description. Anyway, I hope that you found this video some sort of use. It's been a pretty long video, so apologies for that. So I just wanted to do as much as I possibly could to document it to ADATA so I can point them to it and say, look, I've tried everything, it's not working, because I know what the RMA process is like. It's a bit long-winded, and they say, have you done this? Have you tried this? And they'll go through a whole bunch of things that you have to try, and this video will just seal the deal and say, look, I've done everything, it doesn't work, I just want a replacement drive or my money back. Anyway, thanks again for watching, guys. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll catch you again in the next one. Bye for now.